that's why this whole podcast was formed. That's why it was created, to answer the questions that people have that they should be asking, but they don't really know how to phrase or what to say. And another thing that I've learned throughout this past year is that there's so much purpose behind leaders. There's so much purpose behind this podcast. Like, it's not just something to create content, but it's something to educate people and share good news.
Hey, this is Shay.
This is Mary Helen.
Welcome to the Pocket Change Podcast.
Well, you'll learn better ways to spend, save, and invest and take control of your financial journey.
So, Mary Helen, I think you have some news to share with our listeners.
I certainly do. In July, last month, I actually got married and moved to Knoxville, Tennessee, which is exciting.
Rocky Top.
Right. Starting new things, a new beginning in a lot of ways. But that also means ending certain chapters in my life. And one of those being the Pocket Change podcast. So while I'm saddened, I also know that who is coming in, Maddie Steele, is going to take my place, and she'll be amazing.
Yeah, we're excited about this episode. So we'll ask you a little bit more about what you learned and some takeaways, and also some financial advice that you can share to other listeners that might help them on their financial journey. So congratulations on your new last name and your new journey, and we're excited to take a look at this episode.
Hey everyone, I'm Maddie, and we're excited to welcome Mary Helen back onto the podcast. She's been our co-host and has worked as the marketing and PR specialist here at Leaders for the past year. Welcome to Pocket Change, Mary Helen.
Thanks so
Welcome
much. We've got a lot to talk about today.
We sure do.
Been a year, end of an era, beginning for some, which is exciting all around. And
I'm excited to be here too.
Yeah, for sure. And you'll be great.
So Mary Helen, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got here at Leaders.
Sure. So like you said, this whole past year I've served as the marketing and PR specialist for Leaders Credit Union, which will always hold a very special place in my heart as my first job and first official job. And that's just something that you don't forget. It's exciting. I've been challenged in so many ways. I've learned so much. And so how I got here is I graduated from Union University in 2022 and then with a degree in public relations, and then I moved on to Leaders through mutual connections, and which is how I found myself here.
Well, we were happy to have you at Leaders and as the co-host of the Pocket Change podcast, and we got to learn a lot and do a new thing that we hadn't done before, so it's been exciting. But what is something that you learned after working at a credit union?
Yeah.
So my first job was at a credit union, your first job out of college.
Yes.
So what's
My
something
first
you
job
learned?
out of college is at a credit union.
At this table, first job at a credit union.
I know,
So
it's
what'd
something
you
we all have in common.
Yeah, what'd you learn?
Couple of things, a lot of things actually, but I'll just narrow it down to a few. One is that I came in to working at a credit union not knowing really anything about finance, which may shock a lot of people because it's like, you work at a credit union, you should know a lot about finance, but I just really didn't. And I think working here for the past year has been the greatest blessing in equipping me in becoming literate when it comes to APY, what that even means, like what a HELOC is, what, like all the podcast episodes that we've had in the past, we've done our research and we've gotten to have really good conversations about that. That's one of the greatest blessings, is to go from being financially illiterate to financially literate, and then using that gift to then go and serve others and ask people really good questions.
So we hope the Pocket Change podcast will help not just us as co-hosts learn more, but our listeners and anyone who will listen to the podcast can really learn more about financial literacy and what that means.
Every good conversation starts with a question, right? And so once you start asking questions, you can start getting answers. And one question leads to another, that leads to another, like you said, Shay. And that's why this whole podcast was formed. That's why it was created, to answer the questions that people have that they should be asking, but they don't really know how to phrase or what to say. And another thing that I've learned throughout this past year is that there's so much purpose behind Leaders. There's so much purpose behind this podcast. Like, it's not just something to create content, but it's something to educate people and share good news.
And, you know, change is always a part of our life. It's something that I've heard around here, even only being here for a few months now, is change is the only constant thing. And so what would be some advice that you would share for someone starting a new job or even just something new in life?
To jump, to take the risk, sometimes it's the greatest thing, and nothing is in vain. Nothing, like this whole year I've learned so much, and I'm going to take it with me to the next job and then the next job, and like wherever in 10 years I'm going to think about leaders, and I'm going to remember what I learned here. So it's not like, oh, you just did something for a year. It's like I did something for a year, and it taught me how to show up 8 to 5. It taught me an hour lunch break, how to really maximize all those errands that I need to run.
How to co-host the podcast.
How to co-host a podcast. Like, there's just so much more than the task list that I was giving to do at Leaders, but also how to invest in people, how to inspire community, hopefully. But yes, I would say that change can sometimes be the greatest thing that you do, because it challenges you to remember the past, but also work hard in the future too. So I also, if you haven't noticed, I like to think deeply, and so these answers may seem cheesy to some, but it's real, and it's kind of like an outlook on life, I guess.
That's what we're here for. That's why we brought you back on, to get all your insights and advice. So one of the goals, obviously, of the podcast is to talk about helping people on their financial journey and what they can do to make smart financial decisions. So what are some steps that our listeners can take to become financially literate? Like you said, you came with not a lot of knowledge about financial topics or banking, whatever. So becoming financially literate, what are some things we can do to get there?
I think it all starts with, again, asking a question and not feeling like, oh, somebody's going to think I'm stupid because I don't know how to get a car loan, or I don't know how to get open a checking account. I didn't know I could do that online. What do I need? What documents? Blah, blah, blah. We can really go down this whole rabbit hole of, I didn't know that this is what it is. And so, and nobody knows until somebody tells you.
You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. And I guess a pet peeve of mine is when someone asks a question and the person on the opposite end's like, kind of treats them like they're stupid for not knowing that, if that makes sense. But like, that's the only way that you'll learn, and that's the only way that you'll grow. And you've got to jump. You've got to leap. One of my good friends, cross-country coach, Bailey Bell, realtor in town, he says so many wonderful things, and so many, has so many nuggets of wisdom, if you will. But anyways, he has no idea I'm telling this story right now. It just came to my mind, and why not share? But cross-country coach, he told me that his favorite part about the race is when the gun goes off and to start running, and you've just got to commit. You've got who knows how many miles in front of you, but you've taken the first step and you're committed until the end. Whatever happens in the middle happens in the middle, but you're not going to stop until you get to the finish line. And to me, it's something I'll never forget, because it's kind of like life. You've just got to jump, you've got to go, you've got to move to a new city, start a new job, and it can be fun and exciting, but it's also learning how to navigate the world, learning how to navigate what you're good at, what you're bad at, and owning both of those.
So asking questions and really understanding that financial professionals, people at Leaders Credit Union, are happy to help. That's our job. We want to sit down and discuss your finances with you, or investing for the future, or buying that first car, whatever it is. So, people are here to help, so we want people to know that they can make appointments online. They can come in, see somebody, speak to somebody about their financial issue or question, and listen to the podcast for even more information. So
and I think what you said is so true, is that you just don't know what you don't know until you know. Put that on a t-shirt or something.
And even the financial education that you've learned here has been great, but I'm sure there's been little skills here and there that you'll also look back 10 years from now and be oh, I'm so glad I learned how to do that one random task that now you can take with you, or, just the conversations around the office that happen here, that have made an impact in your life, or helped you learn some skill that you need in your new married life. Those are all things that you'll take with you too. So everything you've shared with us is so great. Is there any other advice that you would give to our listeners?
Yeah, good question. I guess one of my hopes as I start a new journey, start a new phase of my life, is that within this podcast, I don't want people to feel like it's us just telling you need to save money, or you need to, sometimes you save to spend, sometimes you save so that you can, we're also furnishing a home right now. And so over this past year, I've saved as much as I could so that we can go get the couch, go get, like, just kind of refresh our space in a lot of ways. So sometimes you do save to spend.
You save for a reason.
Yeah,
In a
exactly.
lot of cases, like save to buy what you need or whatever the case is, save for a goal. So, yeah, that's important.
Like, what you spend your money on tells me what you value. So for some people, it's experiences. Some people, it's things. Like for us right now, we're furnishing a home because that's what we value. Like, to me, a home is where you wait for heaven. So, again, that space, it's also a place to invite people in. It should be a special place. You should make your house feel like a home. And so, anyways, we're investing in that right now because that's what we value. But also, some people, like I mentioned, value vacation, experiences, concerts, like whatever it may be. Went to Taylor Swift a couple months ago. That was amazing.
That was
Glad I went. That was
Definitely
an
had to
investment.
save for that.
And it's also time that I'll never get back with one of my friends, too. And so sometimes you really do save so that you can then go and spend. And that doesn't mean be reckless. And I think that's the point of this podcast. Right. But that doesn't mean you need to save every single penny that you see. Go to the vacation, go to the concert, go get the couch that's kind of crazy and fun and cool because you saved for it. And, like, those things are okay.
And each job, like you mentioned, gives us new experience. You're going to take the experience you had at Leaders with you, but why is that experience so important?
I think it's like compound interest, if we want to use a
there you
financial
go.
term.
Okay.
You know,
Builds
little
on.
fun there. It builds. What I've learned here, I'll take with me later, and what I learned there, I'll take with me later. And, like, whether that's into my home, whether that's into another job, whether that's with a friend, conversation with a coworker, I think we should constantly be learning and constantly be a sponge of our environment, good or bad. Learn how to be a good employee, learn how to be a good boss, learn what you like, learn what you don't, learn what you're good at, learn what you're really, really, really terrible at. We can't be good at everything. And if you're good at everything, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
You're probably lying.
Sometimes that's the most valuable experiences, is learning
Right.
what we're not good at or what we don't like to do so that we
Yeah.
can change that and, be better. Yeah.
Very true. But yeah, I don't think anything's ever in vain. I think we're just constantly challenged, and we should be. Like, that's why, like, we get up every day to start something new and be challenged and grow. And I don't know.
I hope
Growth
this
is
podcast does that for people.
Yes,
financially
that's
and
the goal.
otherwise.
So I'm sure a lot of our listeners would love to know, Mary Helen, what is next for you?
Oh, what a fun question. So I have a heart for college students trying to figure out, or really any high school to college age student trying to figure out what they're going to do with their life, where they're going, what they're passionate about, what they're good at. Kind of what we talked about over this whole podcast is just, like, I've fallen in love with the process of going for something and seeing if you like it. And so I kind of want to inspire others and guide others to do the same throughout all of high school to college. And so I'm actually working for the University of Tennessee right now in Knoxville. Moving to Knoxville. Orange is going to be everywhere. It's going to be great. My office actually backs up to Neyland Stadium, so some days it may get super loud and fun. And but yes, looking forward to it. I'm serving as the student engagement coordinator, so getting students plugged into leadership opportunities, study abroad, internships, really figuring out who they are and then maximizing their gifts and getting them to where they've been called to go. And that is just so exciting to me. But I couldn't have done it without this whole past year of a foundation of learning so many different things and trying new things and completely failing but standing back up again.
We can feel your passion. We know you're passionate about what you do, and we know you'll make a big impact at UT. So we'll look forward to our game tickets for whenever we come to the stadium.
We'll be asking you.
Wearing our orange.
I love it. If y'all ever come down.
Playing Rocky Top. Yeah.
I better see windows rolled down, music all the way up, riding through.
You'll know it's
University.
us.
Yes, I love it.
You'll know. So the question we always ask on the podcast, and I'm going to phrase it a little differently, but last question, if you had some change in your pocket, extra pocket change, what would you buy your favorite co-host?
You're so funny.
As a parting gift, you know?
This could, yeah. This could go. We'll say this. We've got a local snow cone place here in Jackson called Seb's, and that's sentimental for me in a lot of ways because, anyways, something my grandfather and I used to do all the time. And yes, long story, but snow cones are just like, if we had core values, like in my family, 5 of them, one of them would be get a snow cone.
Get a snow cone.
So
vacation.
we're going after this podcast.
That's it.
Here we go.
We're getting a snow cone. That would be my pocket change. That's what
I would appreciate that. I approve of your answer of the last question.
We can make it orange for you too.
There you go.
Half blue, half orange.
There you go. Okay.
Past and future.
I love it. That's awesome.
Well, thanks for sharing your advice and your insight today on the Pocket Change Podcast.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
We were happy to have you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Pocket Change Podcast.
Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe, and watch our full episodes on YouTube.
The Pocket Change Podcast is brought to you by Leaders Credit Union,
where we empower your passion and make lives better.
And one final cha-ching. Ready? Cha-ching! Leaders is federally insured by the NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
Learn more at leaderscu.com.